is the AfriScience Network. Is a group that aims to connect African scientists across various fields of studies, research, and industry. And it connects and caters to all areas of science and promotes science outreach and innovations across Africa, fostering, of course, collaborations, sharing of job opportunities, grants, research opportunities, and a host of several other opportunities. And one of the major outlets of the AfriScience Network contribution to the development of African scientists is through the keynote webinar series. And today is no exception, where we do invite distinguished guests to come share from their wealth of experience on how to advance the cause of science in Africa. So without much ado, I'll be introducing one of the speakers, the admins, to do a formal introduction and citation to of our keynote speaker today. So I think, yeah, so the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll be reading the citation of the speaker. The speaker is Professor Mrs. Adenike Oyinlola Osofisan, FNIM, FNCS. Professor Adenike Oyinlola Osofisan was born on the 11th of March, 1950 in Oshogbo to the late Chief Honorable Josiah Adedipe, the Elemo of Akure and Mayegun of Oshogbo, member Federal House of Assembly, and late Chief Mrs. Felicia Feintola Adedipe, the Akuwajo of St. Paul Anglican Church, Imorekiti. She attended All Saints Primary School, Oshogbo, and St. Stephen's Primary School, Akure, Fiwachai Girls Grammar School in Akure, 1962 to 1967, where she finished in first division. Professor Osofisan was a pioneer student of the Department of Computer Science of University of Ile-Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, and graduated with a second-class upper division honors degree in computer science / economics. She also has a master's degree in computer science in 1979 from Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta and PhD computer science in OAU to become the first Nigerian woman to hold a PhD degree in computer science. She also has an MBA Finance and Accounts of the University of Ibadan in 1993, where she graduated with unprecedented 9 distinctions. She joined the services of the Polytechnic Ibadan in 1979 and rose to the post of Senior Principal Lecturer and Dean, Faculty of Science, before joining the services of the University of Ibadan in 1997 as Senior Lecturer and rose to the position of Professor in 2006 as the first female professor of computer science in Africa. She was President of Computer Professional Registration Council of Nigeria, 2005 to 2009, as first female to head the council, former member of the Nigerian Institute of Management Council, member, Board of Trustees of Nigeria Internet Registration Association, former member of Council of Nigeria Mathematical Center and its academic board, and member of SAP Africa Academic Board, just to mention a few. She was Foundation Director of University of Ibadan School of Business, August 1st, 2012 to July 31st, 2018. She was a past Provost, College of Fellows, Nigeria Computer Society, also as the first female Provost of the college from 2017 to 2021. Professor Osofisan has been a recipient of many national and international prizes, scholarships, and fellowship awards from the United Kingdom, USA, Australia, India, Ghana, South Africa, and so on. She is a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management, Chartered, fellow Nigeria Computer Society, Life member, Nigerian Economic Society, member, Computer Society of IEEE, and member, Association of Computing Machinery. She has received numerous awards for the development of information technology and computer science education in Africa. She was inducted into Nigeria Women Hall of Fame on June 10, 2019. She was appointed Professor Extraordinarius in the School of Computing in the College of Science, Engineering and Technology, University of South Africa in February 2023, and a member of Board of Trustee, Nigeria Computer Society in July 2023. Professor Osofisan has attended many conferences, seminars, both at national and international levels, presenting papers of her various research works. She has over 100 publications authored in national and international journals and conference proceedings. She has successfully supervised 20 PhD theses and over 100 MSc dissertations and numerous final year projects. Professor Adenike Osofisan is a devout Christian serving the Christian community in various positions. Professor Osofisan is married to a literary giant, Emeritus Professor Femi Osofisan of the Department of Theatre Arts, University of Ibadan, and former General Manager, National Theatre, Igomu, Lagos. The marriage is blessed with children and grandchildren. I ever present to us Professor Adenike Osofisan. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I count it an honor to be the speaker at this evening webinar of the AfriScience Network team. And I would like to thank the team for finding me worthy to give this seminar. And this webinar, I'm going to put it in five parts. The first part, I'm going to discuss the fundamental of artificial intelligence. Then the second one, the general ethical application of artificial intelligence in research, the general one. Then I'm now going to zero in on the African context and then make my conclusion. And if what I'm saying at the first part, I don't know, it's a little bit rudimentary to some people, I apologize, because I have no idea who will be joining. So I said maybe it's better for me to give too much details than to give less detail. So I'm going to start with the fundamental of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, commonly known as AI, is a branch of computer science focused on creating systems or machines that can perform tasks which typically require human intelligence. These tasks include reasoning, learning, problem solving, perception, understanding language, and even recognizing emotions. The goal of AI is not just to execute program instructions, but to enable machines to adapt, improve, and make decisions based on data and experience. AI encompasses a wide range of technologies and approaches, from simple rule-based systems like if then else. For those of us who read computer science, if so and so, then so and so will happen. The simple if then else statement to complex neural network inspired by the human brain. At its core, AI aims to build machines that can perceive the environment, process information, and take actions that maximize their chances of achieving specific goals. And AI can be divided into two parts. Narrow AI, system designed for a specific task, e.g. image recognition, language translation. Narrow AI refers to AI systems that are designed and trained to perform specific tasks or a set of closely related tasks. These systems operate under a limited set of constraints and do not possess general intelligence or consciousness. Narrow AI is extremely proficient within its domain, but cannot transfer its knowledge to skills or tasks outside the specific domain area. Examples of narrow AI include voice assistant like the Siri or the Alexa, which most of us are used to, which can understand and respond to speech commands but cannot drive a car or diagnose a disease. Image recognition system that can identify objects in photos but cannot hold a conversation. Recommendation engines on Netflix or Amazon, which suggest movies or products. AI, that one goes beyond the number. This one can even work better than the human brain. An API system who autonomously conduct scientific research, write poetry, play chess, diagnose diseases, and engage in meaningful conversation, all with human level competence. Let's move to application of AI across disciplines. So the first discipline I spoke about is the life sciences and medicine. Here you got genomics, drug discovery, medical imaging, epidemiology, and so on and so forth. An example of epidemiology was the COVID-19 pandemic. Then the next slide talks about physical sciences, physics and astronomy, chemistry, climate science. Then I go on to engineering. In engineering, we have robotics, material science, civil and mechanical engineering. Then for social sciences, we have economics, where AI analyzes economic trends, predicts market movements, and model complex system. Psychology and sociology. Natural language processing studies human behavior through social media and large-scale surveys. Then history and linguistics, where AI decipheres ancient scripts, translate languages, and preserves cultural images and heritage. They also have data science and scientific processes. We have automated literature review. We have natural language processing tools sift through millions of research papers, summarizing findings and identifying trends. Then experimentation. AI suggests hypotheses, designs experiments, and controls laboratory automation. Then you also have peer review and publishing, where AI assists in detecting plagiarism, verifying references, and flagging statistical errors. Then we have examples of case studies of where artificial intelligence can be used in science. We have AlphaFold and protein structure prediction. One of the most celebrated breakthroughs in recent years has been DeepMind's AlphaFold. For decades, predicting the 3D structure of proteins from their amino acid sequences was a grand challenge in biology. However, AlphaFold, through deep learning, achieved unprecedented accuracy in this task, solving structures that had eluded researchers for years. This has massive implications for drug discovery, disease understanding, and biotechnology. Already, AlphaFold predictions are accelerating research into new medications and therapies, and its models are freely available in the scientific community. Number two, we have AI in medical imaging. AI is revolutionizing the analysis of medical images. Deep learning models now assist doctors in detecting cancers, fractures, and neurological disorders from X-rays, MRIs, and CT scans. For example, Google Earth AI was shown to detect breast cancer in mammograms as accurately or even more accurately than experienced radiologists. These tools help increase diagnosis speed and accuracy, especially in regions with limited access to specialists. Then you also have climate modeling and environmental science. Climate science generates vast amounts of data from satellites and sensors. AI models can analyze these data sets to identify trends, make weather predictions, and model the effects of climate change. IBM's Green Horizon project, for instance, uses AI to forecast air pollution and help government devise effective intervention strategies. Then you also have drug discovery and pandemic response. During the COVID-19 pandemic, AI played a crucial role. Machine learning models analyze viral genomics, predicted protein structures, and help identify potential drug candidates. AI-driven simulations help prioritize compounds for laboratory testing, accelerating the path to treatment and vaccines. Then literature and mining and knowledge synthesis. With millions of scientific papers published each year, keeping up with literature is daunting. AI-powered tools like Semantic Scholar and elicit user natural language processing to quickly summarize articles, extract relevant findings, and even suggest new research directions by uncovering hidden connections across studies. This has a brief to give all of us an idea and capacity of AI. Now I'm now going to go to the second part, general ethical applications of AI in research. For centuries, the scientific method has followed a steady sequence of, because when we carry out research, what do? Observation, hypothesis, experimentation, analysis, and conclusion. That's the general trend by which we carry out our research. This research was built for a world where data was scarce and time to process it was very long. Today, our challenge has changed. We are now overwhelmed with data that ranges from genomic data, satellite data, sensor data, as well as even social data that we collect on daily basis. And no human can process the data alone. This is where artificial intelligence steps in. AI, artificial intelligence, it is not a replacement for scientists, that's why for scientists, but it's an amplifier of scientists' capacity to discover. It enlarges our capacity to discover new things. AI will never replace human beings. We are now in an era of data-driven science where hypotheses can be generated by machines. Simulations can run at unprecedented scale. Insights can emerge from noise. Things that you normally regard as noise before in our research, you can find new insights in those things that we regard as noise. AI is no longer a distant promise. It is a powerful reality shaping how we conduct, interpret, and disseminate scientific research. AI is no longer confined to the peripherals of experimental labs. It is deeply entrenched in critical domains such as drug discovery, climate modeling, agricultural innovation, and even social behavioral sciences. Yet, with such potential capability comes a commensurable ethical burden, and the ethical burden is heavy. Ladies and gentlemen, AI, if you do not apply AI in the correct manner, the danger that AI can come up with may be worse than the danger of nuclear war. It can create a danger that far exceeds the danger of nuclear war. So, with this potential capability, there are certain questions we must ask ourselves. To what end are we deploying AI tools? Whose knowledge are we amplifying? Whose interests are we being served or sidelined? AI is very powerful, but it also has its dark side, the ethical dimensions. As scholars and researchers, particularly from African continents, we are uniquely positioned to interrogate these ethical dimensions. We must ensure that AI research advances human dignity, promotes justice, and upholds accountability, not only in theory, but in every practical application. The role of AI in reshaping research has to do with learning, reasoning, problem solving, perception, and language use. This system that AI has some subsystems called machine learning, language processing, and so on and so forth. AI systems are adaptive. They improve over time based on data they process, and interactive quality that amplifies both their power as well as their potential risk. In the realm of research, AI is not simply an auxiliary tool. It has become a co-investigator, fundamentally reshaping methodologies, accelerating discoveries, and redefining the scope of inquiry. I know that applications of AI include automating our data collection and analysis. AI facilitates the collection of analysis of massive data sets with speed and accuracy unattainable by traditional methods. Internet of Things devices and sensors integrated with AI algorithms autonomously gather environmental, physiological, and behavioral data. For instance, in precision agriculture, drones powered by AI assess crops health in real time using multispectral imaging, enabling timely interventions and increased yield. Pattern detection in complex data sets. Machine learning algorithms, especially on unsupervised and deep learning models, excel at identifying latent patterns in complex and high-dimensional data. In genomics, models like Google's D variants analyze sequencing data to identify genetic variants and remarkable accuracy. In the humanities, natural language processing is applied to past historical corpora, revealing linguistic, cultural, and philosophical trends across centuries. Simulation of complex systems. AI-powered simulation powers help researchers test hypotheses about dynamic systems that are difficult to manipulate in the real world. In climate science, AI models simulate ecological responses to different environmental policies interventions. In epidemiology, AI system model the spread of infectious diseases under varying fascination or behavioral scenarios. Predictive modeling. Predictive AI is being used to forecast phenomena based on historical data. In public health, AI predicts disease outbreak based on mobility patterns and climate data. In finance, AI indicators risk models help identify potential market disruption. In education, adaptive learning platform use AI to personalize curriculum based on student performance on learning styles. So we have prominent example of AI research, dynamic sequencing, natural language processing. However, the integration of AI into research landscape also introduces profound ethical issues, like I said before. If left unchecked, AI can obscure accountability, it can embed cultural historical biases, it can distort fundamental norms of consent, privacy, and fairness. So the question therefore is not merely how do we use AI in research, but how do we do so responsibly, transparently, and inclusively. So now we are going to go to the ethical principle, risk and responsibility of AI use in research. As we integrate AI into scientific research, we must set non-negotiable ethical principles that ensure that these technologies serve the collective good, mitigate harm, and uphold the dignity of all stakeholders. AI is not neutral. It encodes the intentions, values, and worldviews of the designers and those who employ it. Therefore, it is imperative that researchers approach AI research deployment through the lens of moral responsibility and global justice. These responsibilities include the foundation pillars of research ethics are built on doing good and avoiding harm. This must be reinterpreted in the AI age. We must not lose sight of this beneficence and non-maleficence aspect of our research. AI systems deployed in research should aim to augment capabilities, enable breakthroughs, and improve well-being. However, these benefits must not come at the cost of marginalized communities, data subjects, or future generations. Risk assessment must be integral to every stage of our AI development, from data sourcing to model development. Autonomy and informed consent. Respect for individual and collective autonomy is central to ethical AI use, because we do this when we carry out our research. Informed consent must be more than a procedural checkbox. It will be an ongoing dialogic process, especially in longitudinal studies where AI systems may evolve unpredictably. And we're going to talk about that later. Researchers must provide participants with understandable explanation of how AI systems may make decisions that can affect them. This is an imperative that becomes particularly urgent with the rise of opaque black box models that we sometimes have in AI. Justice and fairness. In our research, where we deploy AI, we must deploy AI in a manner that promotes distributive justice. This means identifying and rectifying systemic inequalities that may be amplified by algorithm decision making. Fairness is not merely a mathematical constraint to be optimized, but a socio-political aspiration that requires engagement with affected communities. Algorithmic fairness then must be defined contextually and inclusively, most especially in diverse cultural and epidemiological landscapes such as those found in our continent, Africa. Accountability and transparency. In the scientific tradition, reproducibility and transparency are sacrosanct. These values must extend to our AI system used in research. Researchers must document their models, their data sources, their training methodologies, and their decision rationales. Equally important is the cultivation of institutional accountability. When harms occur, there must be clear mechanism of redress. This includes the development of AI impact assessment reports and ethical audits conducted regularly and reviewed by independent multidisciplinary bodies. Like, let me give you an example. We have self-driving cars today. If that car has an accident, who is to blame? Is it the person who the algorithm or the people that deploy the algorithm into the vehicle? So these are all the issues that we must try to tackle when we are using AI in our research. Our research in the past, you can explain them and they can be interpreted. But AI models, particularly deep learning systems, are often criticized for their lack of interpretability. While high productive accuracy is desirable, it must not eclipse our ethical duty to understand and communicate how decisions are made. Explainable AI, fortunately, now we have what we call responsible AI, explainable AI. It's not just a technical challenge, it is an ethical imperative. We must use what we call, explainable AI. Researchers must prioritize interpretable models in high-tech domains and develop models to meaningfully articulate models' behavior to both experts and the lay participants. We must be able to explain whatever it is that we're doing using AI to the layman so that they will understand what's going on. Sustainability and environmental stewardship. The environmental footprint of large-scale AI model is significant. Training a single large language model can emit as much as CO2, carbon dioxide, as 5 cars over their lifetimes. Ethical AI research must include sustainability as a core consideration, optimizing computational efficiency, utilizing green energy resources, and considering the ecological cost of model deployment. All of these things we must take care of while using AI in our research. Ethical AI must transcend Eurocentric paradigms and engage with diverse knowledge systems, African philosophies, indigenous epistemologies, and community-driven inquiry over invaluable perspectives on relationality, responsibility, and knowledge production. Inclusion is not mere demographic, it is epistemic. By embedding cultural sensitivity into our research practices, we have found the legitimacy and value of local context in shaping global AI ethics. I'm going to go through an example that actually happened in Kenya and how all of these principles, some were violated, and because of that, a lot of things did happen. And when some of them were defined, things change again. A case study of predictive health AI in rural Kenya. An academic private partnership deployed a predictive health AI model in rural Kenya to assist with early diagnosis of malaria and material health risk. While the two demonstrated high technical accuracy in urban pilot setting, it failed woefully to account for the unique health profile, linguistic diversity, and infrastructural limitation in the rural clinics. It was successful in the cities, but failed woefully in the rural areas. Consent forms were written in English, inaccessible to many participants, and mobile data collection system raised community suspicion about surveillance. Ethical oversight committees were initially absent. It was not until a local NGO intervened that research team engaged with community leaders to redesign the consent process, co-develop local data sets, and introduce explainable AI modules tailored to health workers with limited technical training. Post-intervention user trust increased, and diagnostic outcomes improved as soon as they did this. This case underscores why ethical principles must be embedded from the onset. It illustrates the practical interdependence of fairness, autonomy, explainability, and cultural sensitivity. Ethical AI is not a peripheral consideration. It is central to the credibility, adoption, and success of AI-driven research, especially within underdeserved community. These principles are not abstract ideas. They are actionable imperatives that must guide every decision, every policy, and every innovation where we use AI in our research. As custodians of emerging technology, our credibility depends on our ethical vigilance. So let us therefore recommit to a science that is not only intelligent, but wise, and not only innovative, but as well just. So what are the practical concerns? What are the practical ethical concerns? There are many ethical challenges that emerge in the practice of AI research. These are not merely theoretical abstraction. They are persistent, complex, and consequential realities that define the moral boundaries of research work. As researchers, we must interrogate not what does AI can do, but what it ought to do, especially in the context of data collection, algorithm design, knowledge dissemination, and dual use application. Now, data ethics. At the heart of ethical data collection is the principle of autonomy. Participants must be adequately and transparently informed about the scope of data usage, including how their information may be repurposed through AI-driven inference. Traditional static consent is no longer sufficient in an age of continual data reprocessing and model updates. Dynamic consent models, where participants retain agency to modify or revoke permission, must become the new standard. Today, everybody keeps saying, what we call this? We have this famous saying that he does clinical does not forget. What if the owner of that information wants Google to forget? That owner of that information must have the right to make Google to forget when it wants Google to forget. The epistemological foundations of machine learning are rooted in data. Yet many of these data sets are harvested without clarity or on intellectual property or custodian rights. The question is no longer just who owns the raw data, but who owns the derivative models trained upon it. We must advocate for institutional and policy reforms that clearly delineate data lineage and secure the right of data originating communities, especially when working with indigenous, clinical, or socio-economically vulnerable populations. The presumption that de-identified data is immune from ethical scrutiny has been thoroughly debunked. Through re-identification attacks, leveraging auxiliary data sets, even anonymized information can be traced back to the individual. This compels researchers to treat data privacy as a dynamic risk profile rather than a one-time procedural step. Ethical rigor demands continual re-evaluation of anonymization protocol in the light of evolving computational capacities. Algorithm bias. Skill training sets. Bias in, bias out. The most insidious form of algorithm apps stem from malicious design. Not from malicious design, but from inattentive data practices. Data sets that disproportionately deflect affluent, Western, or majority population lead to models that marginalize the rest. When these models are exploited globally, they carry with them epidemic injustice, invalidating the life experiences of underrepresented group. Underrepresentation. Now, nowhere is this clearer than in biomedical AI. A study published in Nature Medicine showed that over 80% of genomes-wide association studies are based on individuals of European descent. The result presents diagnostic models that are less accurate even harmful for Africans, for Asians, and for the Latin American populations. Inclusion should not be clarity, but a methodological necessity. Feedback loops. AI systems do not operate in static environments. Their predictions influence actions, which in turn generates new data that reinforces original assumptions. These recursive architectures create self-fulfilling prophecies, especially in predictive policy, credit scoring, and triangle. Ethical AI design must therefore include mechanism for monitoring and correcting bias drift over time. Publication and peer review. AI generated content. Generative models like GPT-4 and Claude cannot produce text that rivals and sometimes surpasses human-authored academic prose. While this presents novel opportunities for accessibility and language equity, it also opened Pandora box, ghostwriting, idea laundering, and automated plagiarism. We must redefine authorship in the AI age by demanding transparency about AI-assisted contributions in all scientific manuscripts. Verification challenge. Current paper review mechanisms are ill-equipped to vet AI-generated or manipulated content. Plagiarism detectors and citation checkers fall short when faced with synthetic yet coherent submission. Editorial boards must begin to adopt AI forensic tools and establish disclosure norms that reflect these new realities. Ghostwriting and plagiarism. There's a rising trend of AI-generated research abstracts and grant proposals being submitted with minimal human oversight. This blurs the boundary between augmentation and deception. Institutions must codify what constitutes acceptable AI assistance, supported by clear, enforceable academic integrity policies. Research misconduct and dual use concept. Their use technology. AI technologies, like any transformative tools, possess dual nature potential. A neural network trained to identify tumors could just as easily be repurposed to identify targets for autonomous weapons. Remember, I said it before, AI is deadlier than nuclear war. Speech synthesis tools developed for accessibility can be exploited to produce convincing disinformation at scale. Ethical AI practice must always anticipate this dual use dilemma and apply precautionary principle in deployment. We saw a lot of this during our last election. A lot of misconception. A picture that will not be used for another thing. A picture taken for something and was used for something else. And everybody believed that that was the truth. And to tell you the truth, AI has been doing this for a long time. I'm sure most of us remember General Dia of late memory. We remember how all of us saw him kneeling down in front of a junior officer, weeping and asking for mercy. When I looked at that video and I saw a lot of shadows, I told my friends and my husband, said, this is AI generated. But most people did not believe that it was AI generated. Pictures can be used now for, not even dual, for many purposes. You take a simple picture, and before you know it, that picture is being used for so many other things that the pictures were not meant for. You see, case studies. I'll give another case study, GPT-2. When OpenAI developed GPT-2, it made the real decision to delay public release due to concern over malicious misuse. This restraint was not born out of fear, but out of foresight. The model capacity to generate persuasive fake news, phishing emails, and propaganda warranted a staggered dissemination. This example underscores the need for context-aware release strategies that weigh utility against risk. Addressing dual use potential requires a systemic approach. The ethical challenges we face in AI research are not marginal. They are central. They shape the credibility of our scholarship, the inclusivity of our outcomes, and the legacy of our innovations. To treat this concern as afterthought is to abdicate our responsibility as stewards of research progress. We must lead with humility, rigor, and a deep sense of moral imagination. Guidelines and frameworks. Governments, academic institutions, and global organizations must develop frameworks to guide ethical use. Fortunately, government, academic institutions, and global organizations are actively deploying comprehensive frameworks to guide the ethical use of AI in research. These frameworks aim to balance innovation with moral responsibility, ensuring AI benefits are widely shared while minimizing potential harms. One of such, the OECD Principles on AI 2019. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, set out 5 principles to guide trustworthy AI: inclusive growth and sustainable development. AI should benefit people and the planet. Human-centered values and fairness. AI research must respect the rule of law, human rights, democratic values, and diversity. We are learning very soon, maybe before the end of this year, we will actually know what happened during the last US election. Now, when two giants are now fighting, they are beginning to say things that some of us believe actually happened, but we could not say so. Maybe before the end of this year, we hear the rest of the story. Transparency and explainability. Those affected by AI decisions should understand the basis of those decisions. Robustness and safety. AI systems should be secured and operate reliably through their life cycle. There should be no change at all. No dual interpretation. Accountability. Mechanisms should be in place to ensure responsibility and accountability for AI outcomes. Then UNESCO recommendations on ethics use of AI in research. This landmark global framework emphasizes respect for human dignity and fundamental rights, environmental and social sustainability, gender equality and non-discrimination, protection of privacy and data governance, promotion of peace and democracy by participation. UNESCO also calls for ethical impact assessment and the establishment of national AI observatories. African Union Artificial Intelligence Strategic Draft of 2022. This framework consists data sovereignty and local ownership, ethical innovation grounded in indigenous knowledge systems, capacity building for AI research and policy, promotion of inclusive AI ecosystem. It emphasizes the need for African nations to shape AI development that aligns with regional needs. Then we also have what we call institutional guidelines and local board ethics. The funding agencies also have their own. Together, these frameworks represent a global effort to institutionalize responsible AI research and development. They underscore the importance of transparency, fairness, and societal well-being as essential pillars of AI roles in advancing knowledge. Now, I want to talk briefly on the African context of AI ethics in research, because we still have some of those things, but we do not value them. And we allow the Western world to dictate to us. So that's why I'm now going to talk about the African context of AI in research. African intellectual traditions offer profound insight for ethical AI development that are often overlooked in the Western-dominated discourse. The philosophical concept of Ubuntu, commonly translated as "I am because we are," provides a fundamental framework that challenges the individualistic assumption underlying much of the contemporary AI development. Ubuntu in AI context: collective optimization rather than optimizing for individual outcomes. Ubuntu inspired AI system to prioritize collective well-being and community flourishing. In independence recognition, acknowledging that individual success is meaningless without community success. holistic evaluation metrics, developing assessment criteria that consider community impact alongside individual performance, participatory design principles, ensure that AI development is a collaborative process involving affected communities. So we have what we call cultural diversity as a methodological asset in Africa. Africa's extraordinary cultural and linguistic diversity presents unique opportunities for developing more robust and generalizable AI systems in our research. Linguistic diversity benefits, multilingual AI development, creating systems that can navigate complex multilingual environments, cultural context sensitivity, developing AI in a research that understand and respect cultural nuances in communication and behavior, bias detection and mitigation, using diverse cultural perspectives to identify and address bias that might be invisible to homogeneous development teams, indigenous knowledge system, traditional ecological knowledge, incorporating centuries of accumulated wisdom about environmental management and sustainability, community governance models, learning from traditional decision-making process to inform AI governance structure in our AI research, holistic problem-solving approaches, integrating indigenous methodologies that consider multiple interconnected factors. Those are all the things that our society gives us in Africa, but we neglect them. We just take over, I don't know, everything that's coming from the West is okay. However, within this African context, we have challenges. Despite the opportunities that Africa AI research face, we face significant structural challenges that we must find means to address. Resource constraints, computational limitations, data accessibility, brain drain, digital colonization concerns, strategic responses, digital colonization concerns, that is technology dependence, risk of becoming dependent on AI technologies developed elsewhere, data extraction, concern about valuable data being extracted without proportional benefit to our local communities, agenda setting, the risk of research priorities being set by external funding sources rather than our local needs, capacity building, the need to develop indigenous AI expertise rather than relying on external consultants. So what strategies can we use to overcome all of these problems? I said we will have what we call Pan-Africa collaboration. We must develop a continent-wide research networks and resource sharing agreements. We must create a standardized ethical frameworks that respect cultural diversity while enabling collaboration. We must establish joint training programs and acknowledge exchange initiatives. We must develop alternative models of AI development that do not replicate Western approaches. That one we must and we have to do. We must promote ethical AI education. We should not just have one course, ethics. Every course that we teach now in Africa must have what we call ethical components of each course. We must encourage inclusive participation. We must foster multidisciplinary review panels. We must build and establish principles and autonomy that deals with autonomy, that deals with justice, that deals with algorithmic transparency, that deals with limitation acknowledgement, fairness and non-discrimination, bias prevention and mitigation. All of those things we must put in place. Cultural sensitivity. We must, when we are doing our research, we must take care of cultural sensitivity, privacy and data protection, accountability and responsibility, institutional responsibility. Every institution must have what we call ethical review boards, responsibility assignment, clearly defining roles and responsibility for AI research outcomes when we use AI in our research. Appeal mechanism, creating processes for addressing ethical concerns and disputes. Continuous oversight, implementing ongoing monitoring and evaluation system. Then individual researcher responsibility. Every researcher must be ethically trained. Professional development, encourage ongoing education in AI ethics. Peer accountability, fostering cultures of mutual responsibility and oversight. Whistleblower protection, protecting researchers who report ethical violations. Environmental sustainability, greenhouse development, prioritizing energy efficient algorithms and architecture over just only the best algorithm in terms of running time or in terms of space use. Because that's what we use most of the time. How long did it run? How much space did it take? No, we should go beyond that now. Resource optimization, minimizing computational requirements while maintaining research quality. Hardware consideration, choosing computing infrastructure with environmental sustainability in mind. Life cycle assessment, considering the full environment impact of AI research projects. Sustainable research practices, carbon footprint monitoring, renewable energy usage, waste reduction, environmental justice. All of those things we must include when we are doing our when we are using AI in our research. Institutional development, ethics committee and review process. Every institution should have established a multidisciplinary ethics committees with diverse expertise. Develop review protocols specifically adapted for AI research. Creating experience review processes for low-risk AI research. Then training and capacity building we must put in place. Ethical design methodologies we also must put in place. Community engagements. When we do all of these things, we must develop protocols for meaningful community involvement in research where we are making use of AI. We must create mechanism for ongoing community feedback and input. We must establish benefit sharing agreements with participating communities, and we must build long time and we must begin and we must build long-term relationship with research communities. I'm now going to my conclusion. The development of ethical AI research is merely an academic exercise. It is a moral imperative that will shape the future of human AI interaction. And we stand at this critical junction. We have the opportunity to establish research practices and not only advance scientific knowledge, but also promote human flourishing and societal justice. The framework and principle outlined provide a foundation, but they must be continuously refined and adapted as our understanding of AI and its implications evolves. This requires ongoing dialogue between researchers, communities, policymakers, and stakeholders. Our responsibility as researchers extend beyond the immediate outcome of our work to encompass the long-term trajectory of human technology development. By embracing ethical frameworks that prioritize transparency, fairness, privacy, accountability, and sustainability, we can ensure that application of AI in research serves the common good and contributes to a more just and equitable world. The African context offers unique opportunities to lead in this endeavor, drawing on rich philosophical traditions and diverse perspectives. Let us seize this moment to establish application of ethical AI in research as a cornerstone of responsible technological development. We must reject the notion that AI is a neutral technology. It is not. It is deeply influenced by who designs it, who uses it, and who benefits and who also suffers from its outcomes. Our commitment must go beyond compliance to leadership in application of ethical AI in research. Let us ensure that African voices are not just recipients of global AI trends, but active contributors shaping its ethical direction. Let us embed justice, equity, and humanity into every layer of application of AI in our research and development. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Adenike, Osofisan, for an interesting presentation at 30th webinar for the AfriScience Network on the ethical application of artificial intelligence in research. Thank you so much for all the vital information that you provided, which are very new and unknown to the majority of us. Considering the time which is approaching, and I think I should open the floor for questions and contributions, Q&As. So if you have any questions, you can raise your hand, please, or you can send a message in the chat environment. And before then, I would like to ask a distinguished professor, how do you prefer to answer your questions, please? Do you want to take like a batch of 3, or you want to answer each question immediately?
I would prefer to take it in batches.
Yeah, I have a question here in the chat box by Hamza Alhaji Abdullahi. I think his question is that, is it ethically right to write a manuscript with AI? Thank you.
Well, is it ethically right to write a manuscript? You can use you can use that thing to guide you, but not just leave everything verbatim. It can be as a guide. Like I said, AI is supposed to assist us. It's not supposed to replace us.
Next question, please. If you have any question, you can kindly unmute yourself and ask, please. Dr. Isa Muraina from the UK.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good to see you, sir.
It's good to see you too, or to hear from you as well. Yeah, I thank the professor for seminar on AI that we just received. My question is just that I just wanted to know the effect of AI, or the learning of the AI from data by the AI center on the water demand, on the water usage. Because I read from some report that the demand for water to cool down the processor used in the running the AI machine, that is so huge that is even demand is even so higher than the amount required by humans to drink. For example, they said
you are very correct. I know where you are going. Yes. I saw that report. You are very, very correct. You say AI.
I'm just wondering that one day we will be short of water in the universe.
No. AI will also allow us to develop new ways of getting water. You see, AI has a dual, I don't know, 2 sides to the coin, the good side and the bad side. What we need to do now is to begin to develop strategies to mitigate the bad side of AI. What you said, I read that report. The amount of water used in cooling down those data centers, it can feed a whole village for 5 years. That's correct. But at the same time, you can also use AI to find new sources of water that will now be more than the water that AI, the data centers make use of. So that's the dual nature of AI. And that's why we in Africa, we must very, very, I don't know. Most of the time when people talk about the benefits of AI, I tell them, please expose people also to the negative side of AI, so that we will be ready for the both positive and the negative side. Not the AI that can do this, AI can do this, AI can do it, AI becomes angelic. AI is also demonic. But however, and that's why AI cannot replace us. That's why that we can now develop other things that will mitigate the bad side of AI that we developed.
Thank you so much. There is a question here from Pascal Eziobi. His question is that to what extent can AI be ethically employed in scientific research? That is question number one. And then another question by Rachel Okunade. She asked, can AI reason as human, since you said some of them function like human brain? Thank you.
Well, the extent that we use AI in our research, when that extent is becoming unethical, then you have to stop. That's the extent. Once it becomes unethical, you need to stop. That is the extent. Because when we do research to benefit mankind, not to harm mankind. By the time we are doing research and the benefit and the bad is outweighing the benefit, then you have gone beyond what you use AI for. Then it's like, yes, so you see, we put the reason in them. AI is an algorithm written by human beings. But unfortunately, now what we are now witnessing is that these algorithms, they can begin to replicate themselves without the consent of the person who wrote the algorithm. So that when we are writing our AI algorithms, we need to put all the checks in place that certain things cannot be replicated anyhow. Because if you do not put all those checks in place, then the algorithm that we ordinarily developed to do good, that same algorithm can also become something that will do harm. So, some of these things that happens today, when we read about them in science fiction a long time ago, we thought they could not happen. But they are now happening. They are now happening. And that is why we as researchers, we must put on our thinking cap anytime we make use of all this AI stuff. How far can I go? What can this do? What can it not do? And that is why all of us, we must have knowledge. And that's why I said training. Every researcher now should have some form of training in AI. Please, it is important. You know, in those days, they said the definition of somebody who's educated is learning to read and write. Then it changed to learning, read, and compute. But now as researcher, for you to become a very good researcher, you must be able to understand AI. So it is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity that we as researchers, if you want to deploy AI algorithms, we must understand what we are deploying.
Thank you very much. There is a question here from Tunde Okewole. He asks, looking at the governance of AI development at the international level, which bilateral relation between the USA and China will benefit Nigeria in order to have a tailored AI functionalities?
Nigeria scientists should sit down together and write their own. Don't go and adapt anything from China or America. That's my own. That's the truth. Because everything those people do, they do it for their own benefit, not for your own benefit. So tailoring their own thing for yourself, it's not going to do us any good. Though. That is why we must see that. That's why I learned the initiative now that the African continent is now giving, especially Kenya, that they are now coming up with African content. Nigeria should be a leading force in this. Adapting China, America. Yes, we can look at what they are doing. You know what China did a long time ago? They look at American things. They pull the thing down. And they look at the weaknesses. And what they do now is to make sure that they correct all those weaknesses and bring out their own as the best. If that's what you are talking about, I don't mind that one. But adapting their own for our own use, no. Looking at what they have done and seeing how we can pull it down and make sure that we use it for our own benefits and not adapting it to our own need. Don't adapt China or America to your need. because we are not the same set of people. We are just not the same. We are different. Therefore, and AI also has to do with culture. You go and look at my presentation. It has cultural content. In Kenya, something that even worked in the cities in the Kenya, when it went to the rural area, it didn't work until they started putting the local content of that community there. And that's when the things started working. So adapting what China and America is doing, I don't know anything about that one. No. Sitting down and looking at what we need to do for Africa. That's why I wrote that last part, the African context. We must look at the African context. Everything that we need to do, please let's all put them in place.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
And I think, yeah, I don't know if I'm correct, but I think even the AI itself, on the aspect of the ethical application of AI, what I realize is that the AI itself has certain limitations or restrictions. Like, for example, if you are trying to write something that has to do with the strong insults, sometimes it tends to deny that request, or it can even reject that, or it can send a warning message that this is against the ethics. Well, this is a personal experience when I tried to do that.
Because who wrote that algorithm put all those restrictions in place. If he or she did not put those restrictions in place, you just be doing anything you like.
Yeah, exactly.
The person who wrote that algorithm, remember AI is an algorithm. The person who wrote that algorithm put all those restrictions in place. That's why you are not able to do all of those things. And that is the reason why we in Africa must put restrictions in place that have things to do with our own community, our own culture, etc. and etc. It's an algorithm written by human being. Whatever the human being writes is what the AI will do. But now, like I said, when you are writing that algorithm, you let it loose in a way that the algorithm can modify itself. That's where the danger of AI is now.
Yeah. So now, can we come to the lazy aspect? Well, lazy in court, that we prefer to be. Yeah, excuse me, please. That we prefer to be consumers rather than developing our own tool, which is tailored to our own system, as you suggested. Developing those algorithms may take quite a longer period of time, and even the tool itself is not being was not initial. Well, probably it was initiated by a group of individuals, but the update is done by a group of people. Just like writing our codes, individuals are contributing in developing that package. So it's not a single individual that is involved.
No, it's a community of people. It's a community of people with coming from different disciplines, not only computer science.
Yeah, exactly.
Not only in science, even from linguistic, from sociology, from philosophy, from everywhere. It's a community of people. You see, what I'm saying that don't let us just be consumer. Let us also be contributors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think
question.
Yeah, Dr. Tunde, you are trying to add something.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mark, what I want to give is more like a comment, especially in the just like I started with the question that I gave under talking about international bilateral relation. Mark, much of what we now see, especially in Africa, is about the frontline functionalities of AI. But looking at the design, which is the back end, it seems like, and looking at this back end, then we'll be talking about the compute power that is depending on chips. That all these models must be put on to work. Now, but Nigeria does not have the infrastructure
and not just Nigeria, but Africa, does not have the infrastructure to design what we have for tailored frontline AI functionalities. So that is what prompted my question that, okay, because we are still far in development or design of this. So to what extent, or how can we just say, okay, so which one, if we are to be fast in developing our own AI functionality, so that means we need to depend on those people that are doing or that are in the capacity of developing the compute power that we need. So that's why I mentioned USA and China for now.
Let me also say one thing, sir. If you read, well, I've given Dr. Aminu the entire paper, which I'm sure will be available to everybody. I mentioned some limitations that we have. Those limitations, we need to find means of overcoming them. I will tell you one thing. When I was going to do my PhD, I had to go to the US doing my literature review. There was no internet, nothing like that then. I had to go to the US for 3 months. I went to the Rutgers Library in what's this state now? And I was going there. I leave home 8 o'clock. I don't come back until around 10 p.m. Time go around to eat and come back. Use the Rutgers Library to do all my literature review. I make use of what they have. We can make use of what they have. Some of us are working in these multinational places now where they have all this computational power. We don't have them. Yes, we don't. But we must find means of getting them, of using them to our own advantage. That's what I'm preaching. I'm not saying we're not going to need them. We need them. But then I'm just saying, don't go and take them like we can sit there babating and just bring them here to Nigeria and start using them. I'll go take them to Kenya and start using them. No. We have limitations, and not those limitations are in the paper. But let us look for means of overcoming this limitation. China, you know what China did in the past? They stole certain things from other people. I'm not saying we should steal, but because I don't want anybody to come and tell me that I'm teaching people. Anyway, yeah. I'll get it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, distinguished Professor Adenike, Osofisan, for this insightful presentation. Honestly, it is a special webinar considering that it is on the Nigeria's Democracy Day, and it is also the 30th webinar of the AfriScience Network since our creation.
Okay, my question, what Prof can suggest to an academicians as to the appropriate AI tool to be used? That give us 2 examples of 2 AI tools to be used as an academician, please. Thank you.
There's so true. You have to find out that it's appropriate to what you are doing. There's not one single tool. There are many of them. And if you Google, you find one that is not appropriate for your own use. And you can then learn how to use that tool. For me to say, I'm going to tell you, go and use OpenAI, it depends on what you want to do. Just go and Google, and it's so clear. What you want to do, tell what you want to say, and say, what AI application tool is best for this, what I want to do. It will give you a list, and the list will come in order of merit. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma.
That is true. And these AIs, in addition to what Prof said, some of them have a specific application. So you can look at, there are AIs that can only summarize a research paper. And apart from that, they don't do anything except that. You have other AIs like Julius AI, you have the Jenny, you have AI assistant for work productivity. There are AIs that can help you design a presentation. I mentioned Google Gemini. You have AIs like Kimi. You have the DeepSeek. You have the R-Tutor. R-Tutor is for data analysis, statistics. And then you have the, ChatGPT. It's like overall. And then you have others like Grok and Chatlize, which I use in statistical analysis, especially graphics. In fact, I just finished using that 2 hours ago. So it is up to you. You can ask the Google and you can get a list, and it can tell you what you can do with whichever one you decide to choose. Thank you so much. And thank you very much. In the absence of any question or contribution, I would like to end this presentation here. I would like to say thank you very much to our professor for she's retired but not tired. And I mentioned that this is a special webinar for the AfriScience Network, webinar number 30, and on the Nigeria Special Day, June 12th, Democracy Day. We thank you so much, Mom, for your time and the energy in creating this useful slides that will serve as a reference material for us. I have shared it on all the platforms of the AfriScience Network, and I encourage members to please, people that did not subscribe to the AfriScience Network, I encourage you to kindly visit the YouTube channel. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can also activate the bell button there so that you can receive notification for all the new uploads. And you can watch our past webinars also. They are there, and you can enjoy them at any time. And I think we did a lot of webinars on so many topics that are of interest to academics. Once again, the AfriScience Network is a growing network of African scientists and researchers with the aim of connecting African scientists and researchers and industry partners in collaborating, sharing ideas, and moving forward. I think that is all that I have to say. Thank you very much, Prof, once again.